everybody, we're going to be doing a 2012 S5 V8 oil change, and going to pop the hood. The levers here. And you just reach under there and pull up on that, and then just come right up.
First thing you want to do is remove the plastic cover. Be very careful because you can break it. The easiest way is to grab both sides here and kind of wiggle it up until it pops loose. You want to put that in a location where it's not going to hurt. The oil filter is underneath this, what they call a grenade cover, and I'll get the socket that it takes and we'll take that off. Yeah. This socket here is a 32mm socket. Looks like somebody has damaged this one before. We might want to, yeah, they put a tie around it. We'll probably have to get a new one of those. And what you want to do is, as you get close and it gets a little easier, go ahead and remove the socket. And just continue turning until the top comes off. And what I usually do is get a bucket so that it doesn't get all over your car. And you might have to kind of wiggle the filter to get it loose, because sometimes the pressure makes it stick. All right.
Now we're going to be going under the car to drain the oil. When you are doing this, you want to make sure that you have jacks under here just in case. Even though you have those ramps, they could collapse on you, just to be safe. We're now under the car and taking the cover off. There's a little pump hose right here. Okay. Taking the cover off, we'll be revealing the oil pan, and there is the drain for the oil. The plug right there.
The next step is going to be to loosen the oil drain plug. It's a 6mm hex head socket. And once you got it, a little loose, go ahead and grab your pan and throw under there. Once you get it loose, you can kind of stick the socket in there by itself and begin to turn it to loosen the drain plug out. Be very careful, make sure your engine is cool enough to not get severe burns from the oil. Just make sure you keep up with your oil drain plug.
We're gonna cut and let this drain out, and then we'll come back after it's over.
After the oil drains out, what you want to do is be able to take your oil plug, just clean it off, make sure there's no metal flakes or anything on it. Make sure it's clean, and go ahead and reinstall it into the oil pan. You never want to cross thread this, so don't use a wrench or anything to try to put it on. Always try to finger tighten it first. And then once you get it snug, finger tight, you put your wrench on it. And you do not want to over tighten this at all. So just a couple of little small, maybe a 1/4 inch turn to tighten it up, and clean all the area around it. And now you're ready to reinstall the plastic protector underneath.
We finished putting the cover back on. We didn't record that because it was a pain trying to get it back on. But that's pretty much all we did. And now we took the jack stands out, and we're not going to be under the car anymore.
All right, the next step is to take this O-ring off the grenade cap or the top of the oil filter cap. And if you'll look right here, you'll see a small gap where you can fit a small screwdriver or something to kind of hook underneath it, and then just work it off. And then of course we got us a new filter. It's a cartridge filter, and one of the things you need to remember is this will go down first. There's a hole that it fits in as you put it in the cartridge container. See that little hole on the left side there? You're gonna make sure you line that up. But before we do that, we're gonna replace the oil cap gasket. And one of the best things to do is get some of the oil that you have and go ahead and lubricate the new gasket so that it'll fit and kind of stretch out a little bit. The oil kind of protects the gasket and keeps it from cracking or dry rotting. And whenever you're pushing it down, make sure that it's not twisted or bent anywhere. You want to make sure that it's completely round. Kind of put some more oil on it. All right, next step, we're gonna drop the cartridge filter down in here. And before we do that, we can put some oil on this too, so that it'll help it slide down in. And what you want to do is line that pin up with the hole on the other side, and you'll feel it pop in. You got to kind of push firm pressure and it'll pop right in that hole. Once that's seated, you'll want to go ahead and put your filter cap back on and just use your hand to tighten it. And once it gets pretty snug, just kind of look around the seat here to make sure that the gasket is actually going down inside the housing and it's not cutting it or anything. And then go ahead and get your socket back out and slowly turn it. Just watching the gasket to make sure that it's not going to hurt anything, crack the gasket or anything. Okay. What you want to do is tighten it until it gets all the way tight. You never want to over tighten it because this is plastic screwing into a metal surface, so just get it tight enough to where it's snug. and that should seat the oil O-ring and keep it from leaking. All right, the next step is to fill it up with oil, and you'll remove your oil filler cap. And this actually has a plastic insert inside, so it's going to be, we'll have to pour it very slow in there so it won't overfill and get on the engine. One of the things that you always need to do is clean out your funnel so that there's no dirt or debris inside there or old oil that you had before. You want it as clean as possible. And then we'll go ahead and open our oil here. On top of the oil, there's always a aluminum film, and you do not want that inside your engine, so you want to make sure you get that off and get that out of the way before you even start pouring. Before we end up topping it off with oil, I want to make sure that we put in this stabilizer made by Lucas Oil, and it's one of the best additives that you can put in any vehicle. They make all kinds of different oil stabilizers for rear ends to transmissions, even power steering pumps. This is a little thicker, and it's going to take a little while for it to pour in there, but this will protect the motor. I use it every oil change. After the Lucas oil has been dispensed, we'll go ahead and grab the oil stick, which is right here, the oil dipstick, to check the oil level. Just give it a good wipe and give it a few minutes for the oil to settle down inside the motor, and then we'll check it to make sure how much we need to add. All right, after you've waited a significant amount of time, you just reinstall the dipstick. Make sure that it's all the way down, and then pull it out, and then we'll check the fluid, and there is none on it, so we need to add some more. All right, now that we've got at least 5.5 quarts in it, we're going to go ahead and put the oil cap back on. And then we're going to start the car up and back it off the ramp so that the engine will be level, so that we can accurately add the right amount of oil. Now that we got the car level, we're going to go ahead and re-pull the dipstick out and clean it off, and then we're going to stick it back inside the oil dipstick tube. See if we have any. Still don't have any on there, so we'll have to add some more. After we leveled the car and added more oil until it shows right there at the max level, it ended up being 9 quarts of oil and 1 quart of Lucas oil. So it was a little more than what we originally planned for. The next step is to kind of wipe everything off and reattach the oil filter cap. that we finished the oil change, we're going to go in and show you how to reset the oil life light. Pretty simple. We're just going to use the computer itself to reset it. We'll walk you through it. All right, so the first thing you want to do is that you need to do is get to the oil life reset screen on the car. Down here on the console there is a car button. You'll press that, it will change. You'll use your iDrive control here to go down to service interval display. Press the button, and then you go all the way to the bottom. It'll say reset oil change interval. It'll say yes. Are you sure you want to? We're going to hit yes, and then you should see the oil change interval reset screen, and now the oil life has been reset for the next service.
You turn the car off.
To finish things up, we're going to make sure that this top oil filter cap is not leaking anywhere after we've run the car for a little bit. And then we're going to replace this plastic piece on top of the motor, making sure that it's in the right spot. Lightly press down just to make sure that they all clip in. Give it a little shake just to make sure that it's in the right holes, and that's all that we need to do.